Hey everybody, welcome to Getting Real with the Richardson Group. Real estate, real talk for the real world. I'm joined with owner broker Cindy Richardson with the Richardson Group. My name is Jack Fennell, and we are going to have a little bit of real talk with you guys today on what's going on in the real estate world. Cindy, I know a lot of stuff's been going on, and we've had a lot of people send us a lot of questions. I had somebody send me something from Reddit the other day that I kind of wanted to get your opinion on. Reddit user Fluttermouse0608. Should we buy or keep renting in 2025? Their question is, I would really appreciate it if a professional or someone with experience could please give me advice. We're trying to decide whether it makes financial sense to buy a home in the next few months or continue renting. The sharp increase in home prices has my head spinning, but I realize I live in one of the cheapest areas of the country, which is kind of the best of the worst situation. What do you think?
Well, of course, it's always a good time to buy because what's going to happen if you don't buy, homes are going to continue to appreciate.
Yeah.
So, over the last 10 years, homes have appreciated 63%. So, if you don't buy and you continue to just rent and save, then if all you save is 5% per year, then you're just breaking even. You're still going to be in the same financial situation next year. So if you're looking at a $200,000 home and it takes you a year to save up $10,000, then that $200,000 home, when you go to buy, is now worth $210,000. So you're really not financially better off to wait. Now, interest rates are a little high right now compared to history, or compared to recent history. If you look at history itself, they're normal. But if interest rates are always changing, you can always refinance when interest rates do go down. But what you can't do is back up on the prices.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing right now is also looking at what's the overall plan. How long are you planning on being in that house that you're going to buy? Are you going to be in it 2, 3, 4, 5 years? Is it a 10-year commitment for you? If that part of the investment and the time is there, yeah, go ahead and start to look to make that jump. But if it's going to be something that's 1 to 2 years and then there may be a move or a job transfer where you're trying to sell it, that's kind of where you really need to dig a lot deeper into the numbers. So whether or not it's going to make a ton of financial sense over just renting. Typically, yes, you're going to come out better off when you're renting because when you rent, you pay someone else's mortgage and not your own. But if you're also in a financial situation to where you couldn't afford to replace a water heater in a home, and that's the choice between eating dinner that week and having hot water, renting may be the best option.
Yeah, and let's say that your payment to purchase is $1,500 and you're currently paying $1,000 a month in rent. So it is going to be a little bit of a stretch, but you're also getting that appreciation because again, if that $200,000 home is worth $210 at the end of your first year, then by the end of your second year, that same home's going to be worth $225. Then by the end of the third year, it's going to be up to $245. So if you do sell it in 3 years, you're going to make money. Whereas if you're renting and you walk away, you made nothing. And then that interest that you're paying, you get to deduct it off of your taxes too. So you will get a bigger tax return.
So, Cindy, what are the biggest things that people should try to get in order before they try and buy a home? What are the most important things for them to figure out?
Well, financially, of course, you want to get in order, but I think that your wants versus your needs. I think that that is probably a huge issue when you first started looking is, of course, everybody wants extra room. Everybody wants an unfinished basement sitting on 5 acres, less than 5 years old. But what do you really need? If you're giving up a 2-bedroom apartment and you could, for the same price, can go into a 2-bedroom house where you have a yard and ownership and your payment stays relatively the same, then that might be a good first stepping stone.
Yeah, and I think the important thing too is when you kind of get it in order, get your finances in order, get your credit in order, get your savings in order, get your monthly budget in order so you know how much you can spend and how much you can afford to spend. But at the ultimate day, figure out how much you want cost. Because if you're coming into a situation to where you want a home similar to what your parents have had, you've got to remember your parents worked the majority of their lives to be able to get into the home that you grew up in. So your first house may look similar to something that was their first house as far as size-wise, amenities, things like that. Now,
Oh goodness, I think our first house, the biggest thing on it was the
yeah.
garage. And I mean, yeah, that was the majority of the downstairs. My kitchen was about the size of a good closet.
Yeah, and the house I grew up in, it was a square with 2 bedrooms, a living room, a kitchen, and a bathroom.
One bathroom.
Yeah.
Right. And you had the whole family using one bathroom.
One bathroom,
So
one sink.
when you hear people say that in 1985 they gave $83,000 for a home, that $83,000 home was very different than buyer expectations today. So today people expect a home to have multiple bathrooms, multiple bedrooms, multiple living spaces, whether that be bonus rooms, dens, office.
Yeah, I think the important thing too is to look at it when you go and look at some of the older homes. You're going to see some big differences between a home built in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s versus the 90s, 2000s, things like that, because there wasn't a preface put on the bigger bathrooms, the bigger closets, the private spaces in the bedrooms. All those things didn't exist until into the 90s in a lot of houses.
But the older ones typically had a whole lot more closet space.
They had more closets. They didn't have some of the closet space. They had a ton of closets.
Okay, good point. Yeah, you wouldn't have a walk-in closet,
Yeah.
but you would have lots of linen closets,
And
coat
you
closets.
had a ton of louvered doors and bifold doors.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I love those things. Taking those things off are fun. I think the important thing to remember, Cindy, we have always, in my career, and I know in yours, you have always tried to be on the level when you deal with customers, clients, and anyone that you come in contact with in this business. What is something that the people listening should ask their realtors, or when they're interviewing a realtor, to make sure that the person that they're actually talking to is being on the level with them and that they're not just being treated as another potential sale?
Well, I think one, first and foremost, make sure you have an experienced agent. You want somebody, if they can't explain the contract and the terms of it to you, then they may not understand it themselves. And you don't want to find out the details of it from an attorney or a judge.
Yeah.
So make sure that they do know the contract and exactly what you're getting into. And you can always get face-to-face with your agent to sign the paperwork. Don't feel like you have to do everything electronically, because that seems to be people push buttons and don't read it as much as they should.
Yeah, and I think the best important thing is always it's tried and true. If it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is. You want to ask questions. Figure out, just from your first meeting with that person, do your personalities fit? Not all the time are you going to go along with somebody that you work with. And I understand you're bringing someone on as an employee, basically, to an extent. You are bringing them to sell your home or to help you buy a home. So you want someone that understands they work for you when you're doing that. So that's one of the most important things, is find somebody that you fit with personality-wise.
And it's really, you're getting a team. So it's not just your agent, but to buy a home, it takes a team. You've got your agent, you've got your loan officer, you've got your title company, you have any inspectors, surveyors. You have a multitude of people that are going to help you get there and answer all your questions. And I think that it's very important up front to let your agent know what is important to you, so that they can make sure you're covering all of that during your inspections, or as you're looking for homes, they can keep your goal in mind.
And I think the team is is a great thing to expand upon, because you want a mortgage lender that's going to be upfront with you what's going on. You want to know where her partners are, and partners I mean by where is the underwriting located, who do they pick from appraisers, who are the other parts and the pieces, because it's not just the mortgage originator. There are other pieces to getting the loan done. Where are they located? How hard is it to get in touch with them? Do you have one particular point of contact during the process, or is it going to be four? Because if you have a problem and you don't know who to reach out to, that can cause a lot of headaches really quickly from somebody that's already stressed from trying to buy a home.
Right. And then if you have a underwriter that's in a different area, possibly different time zone, that can add additional stress. If you don't have somebody that you can actually walk in their office and talk to them about what paperwork you need, or if you're missing something or have some kind of unusual situation like overtime, bonuses, anything like that.
But I think it is important when you deal with a mortgage person that they're all in the same place. That you've got underwriting, your originators, all those things are within contact. If you don't have the same people, who are you going to be dealing with at what point in time?
Right. And again, I go back to that. It's very important that everybody involved in the transaction has experience, because if you're selling a few hundred homes a year, it's a whole lot easier to see a train wreck coming. You've been there, you've done that. You can see things that a new agent may not see coming.
So, Cindy, let's talk about home inspections. when getting a home inspection, whose responsibility is it? Is it the buyer, the seller, the mortgage company, the appraiser? Where does the inspection come into play in all of this?
It would depend on what the contract says, but typically it is the buyer's responsibility to order any and all inspections they want and to pay for those inspections
I think it's important.
during the inspection period.
Yeah. And I think it's important to remember real estate is very local. Every state is different around the country. Here in Tennessee, Tennessee is a buyer due diligence state. It is the buyer's responsibility, like Cindy said, to go ahead and order that inspection, whether it be a home inspection or you bring out several different professionals to look at a home. Now, an inspection can't be my cousin's brother's Bob, who used to be a handyman for somebody that's never had a license for anything like that. That doesn't fly according to the state. So if Bob says that the house is going to fall down, that's not a reason to walk away from the contract.
And a lot of times it's good to start with a home inspector, but no, that may not be the end. So your home inspector is going to come out and they're going to kind of go through the house and give it a one-over. They're going to tell you, they're going to go above it, under it, through it, and then they're going to give you a list of things that might throw up red flags with them. They're going to say that they're not sure about the roof. You might want to bring in a roofer. Yeah. You may want to bring in a plumber. You may want to bring in a central heat and air person. You can then begin to call people that are licensed in the field that you want to have them look at. So, but a home inspector is typically the first stop.
Yeah. And it's important, again, have someone that's professional and has experience of what they do, because there are certain things walking into it if you know you are looking for certain things or to avoid certain things. A professional realtor is going to be able to help you kind of avoid and navigate and be able to not say this is good, this is bad, but to point some things that you may want to look at a little bit farther.
So let's expand on that a little bit. So Jack, who is responsible for the repairs from
depends.
Anything found?
It depends. It's not necessarily on the seller to do it. If it's a situation, for example, like an estate to where no one lives in the house, there's nobody there, you're having an inspection to find out what's wrong with it, and then you're the one doing the repairs once you purchase the home. You can negotiate to have the repairs done because it may be a situation to where there's something that has to happen that you want a specific contractor to work on it. They may come bring in several quotes to have the work done. You say, well, we still want to have this person, to where you may be paying the difference between what it would cost between the two quotes to get the work done. So there's a lot of negotiation that can still be involved inside of an inspection period.
Yeah, and I would caution if the other party is going to be doing the repairs.
Yeah.
Because it's the Tennessee contract says it has to be done in a professional manner, but exactly who determines in a professional manner? So if that party is selecting the repair person, are they doing it in the same fashion that you would have? So sometimes it's better to take a credit or use your own repair person rather than allow the other party to fix it.
All right, Cindy. What is the weirdest design or architectural feature that you've seen in a home that you've had to sell?
Oh, goodness. That's a hard one. There's so many. For one, when you see an ad that says custom home, custom doesn't always mean great. Custom means it was designed to someone's specific taste or needs. Let's see. I've a home that looks like a castle. What's the weirdest one you can think of?
The weirdest one I had was one that it had a bunch of pass-throughs. Like every room in the house had a pass-through. Like just the little square cut, not the like a door. It just had like a little hole to pass. So I guess so if you were inside, you could throw laundry out or something like that in the hallway. But really weird setup. Oh,
there was the house with a bunker.
Yes.
So full-on underground bunker that you could probably live in for a lengthy period of time. I mean, they went way overboard on their bunker.
I remember that one. That one was a good one.
That was a good one.
I think a lot of them are when you get into the things that are. And remember when Cindy said custom too, custom is what they wanted. If it was important to them, it was in the house. Chances are it wasn't that important to the other 99% of the population. They all looked at it cross-eyed. So there's a little grain of sand that goes with that right there to an extent for how you label those things. So just
Really, you can look at the style of the home. That's what I do that to Brian all the time when we're going down the road. And I'll just start saying what year it was built, and then we'll look them up later to see how accurate I was, because the styles change so much that you can look at a home, and because of the design, the materials that were used, the detail work on it, you can absolutely tell what year it was built.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to Getting Real with the Richardson Group. Real estate, real talk for the real world. We look forward to seeing you next time.